Introduce our last speaker, Allison Reaves. Allison is the owner and resident learning specialist at The Right Click, a 13-year-old training and development company based in the CSRA. Allison is a graduate of the University of South Carolina with a BS in psychology and an MAT in mathematics. After 10 years teaching high school and college math, Allison left public education to explore a career in training and development. Allison is also a lifelong volunteer and past president of the Junior League of Winston-Salem. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium to discuss WW2, Rewriting Her Story.
Thank you, Marie. I appreciate that. Can I, before I get started, get a quick show of hands? First of all, raise your hand if you're awake. Excellent. That was the easy part. I want you to raise your hand if you've ever walked into a situation. Could be a meeting, could be a vacation, could be Bible study, could be your group workout. You've ever walked into a situation with a story in your head of how this situation was going to play out, and by the time the situation played out, you realized your story was so wrong. Yeah? Okay, one more question. How many of those stories had to do with working with other women? I appreciate it. It was woo, and there was a yes, absolutely. Well, I'm going to tell a story on myself, and I'm not proud of this story. So let me be very clear. I'm not proud of this story. But several years ago, I was asked to be president of the Junior League, which you just heard. And so when the nominating committee came to me and asked me to be president, here's what I thought. You guys have been drinking a lot. And then when I realized, okay, maybe not a lot, my second thought was, you must have asked a whole lot of people before me to even get to me. What could possibly make them think that I could lead a 1,000-member, all women's, all volunteers, not even an executive director, organization, when I had a life? I had a full-time job, a business, a life outside of it. What must you people be thinking? So I said, let me think about it. And I did. And I had, does anybody have conversations with themselves? Okay. And it's not usually at a good time of day, is it? It's usually when we're trying to sleep or we're trying to do something else functional. So I had the conversation with myself. Allison, you can do this. This is what you do for a living. You go into organizations and you help them figure out where their inefficiencies are. Do you see the story starting to be created in my head? Where their inefficiencies are, and you help them solve those inefficiencies. In other words, you go in and you work with the leaders and the managers and the employees, and you fix whatever's broken. And I had been a member of this organization long enough, I knew what was broken. I knew where the cracks were. Not only did I know what, I knew how to fix it, and I knew who to put in charge of fixing it. So my story was getting really, really big. I'm going to go in, I'm going to solve this organization's problems with the what, the how, and the who. So there was a slight little piece I hadn't thought about, and that was I needed to work with 11 other members on the board of directors to make sure that my plan came in place. Okay? To make sure, we only had 1 year together. So we needed to work really, really fast. So I started working on the agenda for our first board of directors meeting. And I had the list. Here's what, here's how, and here's going to do it. Here's who's going to do it. So as I'm creating my story, what I never thought about is that those 11 women on the board of directors that I was getting ready to unload on were also creating their story. And their story was, this is not going to be a fun year. I don't know what I've signed up for. It's going to be like every other meeting or board that I've sat on. I'm going to walk in, I'm going to sit down, somebody who thinks they're, you can plug in there, is going to tell me what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and the fact that it's now my responsibility. So neither of us were particularly, none of us, looking forward to the year. So the voice continued. Something's not right, Allison. You know, you are trained better. You've done the research. You've done the reading. You cannot walk into this group of women, of which were from various backgrounds. We had different ages. We had different experiences. Some of us had families, some of us didn't.